Hey everyone, welcome back to RM Transit, and as you see, I'm not wearing the shirt that some people seem to think I wear a bit too often. I'm wearing a very different shirt today. But anyways, I was having a great conversation with some of my Aussie friends on the RM Transit Discord server. Link will be in the description below, you should join it. It's lots of great conversations about why Sydney trains should move some of their fleet from bi-level or from double-decker trains to single-level. And I realized it probably justifies making a video talking about why single-level trains are often better. For places like Sydney, Toronto, and much of New Jersey, we need to have a serious conversation about more extensively using single-level, modern, multiple-unit trains. Let's discuss. The first thing that you need to address when talking about removing a large portion of an existing fleet, over time even, is that a lot of rail fans are going to be very angry. The truth is, though, that I don't think you're a real rail fan if you oppose a change which will improve the transit system and which will improve transit services. I like double-decker trains too, they look neat, but we shouldn't keep double-decker trains just because people like to take pictures of them from overbridges. And of course, rail fans shouldn't be the ones we're making our rail rolling stock decisions around, because if they were, we'd probably end up with a lot of 50-year-old rolling stock still kicking about. Not that we don't already in North America, but you get my point. Now, given I did a video talking about everything about double-decker trains up here, you might be wondering, why am I talking about why we should get rid of some of them? Well, as mentioned in that video, double-decker trains play a role, a niche within the train ecosystem. They're pretty good options for medium to long distance operations, be it intercity or be it within cities on sort of regional rail routes, which for my Australian friends, regional rail in North America is commuter rail in Australia. They mean the same thing. I'm going to try to break down that thinking about where it makes sense to do single level versus bi-level into more of a definitive rule. When you have a train service, passengers usually want two things. They want high average speeds and they want high frequencies. High average speeds means that once people are on a train, they get where they're going quickly, and high average frequencies mean that people don't have to wait around at stations for the next train. Of course, high average frequency also makes people's trips faster, since if you have, let's say, every 30-minute train, well, sometimes that's going to add 30 minutes to your trip. Whereas if trains come every 3 minutes, say, well, at most you could be worried about adding 3 minutes to your trip. There's a big difference. Now, as it turns out, for local or all stops rapid transit style service, and for more types of service broadly, double-decker trains makes it hard to achieve those goals of high average speed and high frequencies. Let's discuss why. Imagine you have a very simplified train line with 10 stops, each of which has equal and fairly high demand. This is a train line, so ideally you do have a lot of demand at your stations. You want to have high average frequency and high average speeds for your passengers, and you want to move a lot of people as the train operator. So what do? Well, if you have a standard single level electrical multiple unit train, like say the Class 345 that is going to be operated on Crossrail, or say like the E235s that are operated on Tokyo's Yamanote line, you can probably run your trains up to every 2 minutes. And if each train can carry 2,000 passengers, well, you can divide 60 by your headway of 2 minutes. That gives you 30. Then you can multiply it by your 2,000 people per train to give you 60,000 people per direction per hour. The number of people that can get on a train and move in one direction down the line every single hour, which is kind of the standard way of measuring transit line capacity. Now, fortunately, since you chose a nice single-level train and they have quite a few doors, your train doesn't have to dwell or sit at each station for too long, maybe only 30 seconds. What this means is you have a good average speed and passengers really like your service because trains come frequently. But now imagine we were to substitute those very nice single-level trains for double-decker trains, operating the same style of service as is done in many cities. Because rail fans like them. And also because, well, surely a double-decker train will move twice as many people, right? Well, that might be true. Now our trains can each fit roughly 3,500 people. Remember, the entire train does not have 2 levels. There has to be a mezzanine level where the doors are placed and people actually get onto the train. So say we have 3,500 people on each train, we have also cut our doors in half since we have 2 mezzanines at the end of each car. What this means is that while we've doubled our passenger count, We've halved our number of doors, which means that dwells in stations could realistically take roughly 4 times longer, because you're giving more people less ways of getting on and off the train. If we go off our 30-second dwell for our single-level trains, this means you're going to be dwelling for 2 minutes at every station. That's going to eat into your average speed in quite a big way, but it's also going to mean that now you can maybe only operate a 4-minute headway. Now, if you think about that, what we've just done is cut our headway in half, but we haven't doubled our train capacity. So if we do a calculation here, what we can see is we can take 60 divided by our 4-minute headway, and that gives us a 15 train per hour frequency. And then we can multiply that by the capacity of each train, which is 3,500 passengers, as I said. And what you'll see is that the total capacity is 52,500 passengers per direction per hour. To be clear, we just made the trains way larger, but we actually moved less people because the trains cannot operate as frequently and they don't double your capacity per train. Of course, this is hyperbolic because trains are not always packed to the gills and not every station is equally busy. But this effect applies equally to single-level and bi-level trains. If you have a single-level train, it's still going to board the passengers that need to be boarded faster on average, and so it will have a higher average speed, and it will have shorter dwell times, which means you can have a faster, more frequent service. And this can be taken to the extreme. Systems in Japan and in Hong Kong have seen train cars with up to 5 doors on each side. And if you're boarding from both sides, that's a massive number of passengers you can unload and load at every station. But this is an opportunity. Systems like Sydney Trains and New Jersey Transit already have everything they need to operate a JR or S-Bahn style regional rail service. They have high platforms, they're electrified, and they have the ability to do so much more. And these systems have really long platforms as well, so you could have really high capacity single level trains. Now, of course, none of this is to say that double-decker trains shouldn't stick around on some services, but you can divide services up by the service type. So short distance, all-stop, or local trains can be served with single levels, while longer limited express type trains can be operated with bi-levels. And the great thing is that once you get further out from the city center, your stations are further apart and your headways have fallen off, then those double-decker trains can start to stop at every station because there isn't as much pressure on them to keep a tight schedule. Of course, what this also means is that since you're using single-level, lighter trains, you have a better power-to-weight ratio, which helps you accelerate in and out of stations faster. It also means that you can climb steeper hills and dig smaller tunnels when tunneling is required, which enables you to build so much more. This is a lot of the benefits of Sydney Metro in Sydney, but with standard, intercompatible trains with a mainline network. Now, before people chime in about cattle cars or about how uncomfortable metro seating is, it does not have to be. You don't have to have bench-style longitudinal seating, though I'm a fan of it. You can have a blend of seating like you see in systems in Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. We do a lot of that in Canada. But you can also see similar seating layouts on the Paris Metro, a high-capacity system, or the London Underground, another high-capacity system. And then, of course, you can adjust your seating layout over time to accommodate your passenger loads. Maybe some lines have less ridership, and so those ones can have more seats, while other lines that are higher ridership and higher demand can have less seats and more standees. People are unlikely to be making long journeys on single-level metro-style trains because if they wanted to make a long journey, they'd take the regional limited express type trains which are operating with double-deckers. Of course, as well, people can just stand. There are metro lines all over the world that are long and that require people to stand for decently long periods of time, and people survive. Someone made an excellent comment in the Discord server which said something along the lines of, if you have to stand for an hour on your train, maybe you'll start thinking about how bad urban sprawl is and how wouldn't it be nice if we all lived closer to the urban core? I'd still have to stand on my train maybe, but I only would have to be for 15 minutes. And at the end of the day, if you need to ride a certain line, well, you can do what lots of people like myself have done in the past and ride the train early to work or see if your boss will let you come into work late and leave late. These sort of arrangements are pretty common in major cities where there are constrained transportation systems. Now, how does all of this apply to New Jersey Transit and Toronto? Well, both of these systems have a ton of potential to transform in the coming years and become more like large-scale rapid transit systems rather than their existing commuter-style operations. I bring up New Jersey Transit because I view New Jersey Transit as what GO could become if GO goes down the path of using bi-level cars with electric locomotives. It's a better system than the system we have today, but it is not the optimal system. New Jersey Transit can benefit too, though. New Jersey Transit doesn't currently operate electrical multiple unit bi-level trains, which means the benefits of a modern electrical multiple unit train could be used to offset some of the pain points of having slightly less seating if they were to convert some of those gigantic bi-level trains into single-level trains that operated more frequently into New York Penn Station, for example. And of course, for GO Transit or New Jersey Transit, they have a lot more to gain in terms of moving to electrical multiple units, modern ones, not any of the old models that still operate in New Jersey Transit, for example. There's a lot of benefit to be had that Sydney doesn't have to gain. Sydney can gain capacity and they can improve frequencies, but in Toronto and New Jersey, we can significantly increase train speeds, we can significantly improve performance. It's a big leap we could make, and we could do it pretty easily, especially in New Jersey where the electrification and high-level platforms are already a thing. You literally just need to buy the trains. Why do I bring all of this up? As I've said before, transit systems are not static things. They need to evolve and adapt over time with the changing world. As ridership rebounds and continues to grow and increase post-pandemic as cities grow, there's going to be demand for more capacity, better service, and high frequencies all day long. We need to start looking at worldwide best practices instead of just relying on what we've done in the past in all of the places I talked about today. That's how you build world-class transit. Thanks for watching.